The Quran, you said, both of you guys said that the Quran never quotes the Bible. It literally quotes the Bible in chapter 5, verse 45, where it talks about it quotes literally the commandment about. Yeah, you got to mute Jim while I speak because you got feedback. Where the Quran, where the Bible talks about an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, all that kind of stuff. The Quran literally quotes Exodus, literally quotes it verbatim. So your Quran quotes the Bible and it quotes the Talmud.
Let's actually look at the context in which you claim this to be a quote, and let's look at actually how God is addressing these verses here. I take refuge with God against Satan curse. This is 532, and let's start a couple of verses back. Right, let's start with verse number 27, so we can get a little context. I take refuge with God against Satan curse. Recite for them the true history of Adam's two sons. They made an offering, and it was accepted from one of them, but not from the other. He said, I will surely kill you. He said, God accepts only from the righteous. If you extend your hand to kill me, I am not extending my hand to kill you, for I reverence God, Lord of the universe. I want you, not me, to bear my sin and your sin on, and then you end up with the dwellers of hell. Such is the requital for the transgressors. His ego provoked him into killing his brother. He killed him, and he ended up with the losers. God then sent a raven to scratch the soil to teach him how to bury his brother's corpse. He said, woe to me, I failed to be as intelligent as this raven and bury my brother's corpse. He became ridden with remorse. Because of this, we decreed for the children of Israel that anyone who murders any person who had not committed murder or horrendous crimes, it shall be as if he murdered all the people. And anyone who spares a life, it shall be as if he spared the lives of all the people. Our messengers went to them with clear proofs and revelations, but most of them, after all this, are still transgressing. So if you pay attention to the history of this, where this revelation came from, this was way before Talmud. This concept came from after what y'all call Cain and Abel, when Cain killed his brother. This is where this came from. So God is giving the origins of where that came from. Now let's go over here to 545. Right?
Wait. Well, let's do it one at a time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah,
so you mentioned how it's talking about what happened with Cain and Abel, right? And
you're saying like I said, as you call them, Cain and Abel.
Okay. So when it makes this statement that killing one is as if you have killed all of mankind, right? You find this statement in the Talmud. It's not in the Torah.
Did the Talmud come after Adam?
Yes. Is the Talmud scripture?
But God says because of this, right? He's talking about.
Is the Talmud scripture?
The Talmud is not scripture.
So why is the Quran quoting
this concept? If you're paying attention to what the verses are telling you, God originated this concept way before there was ever a Talmud. So for you to assert that this came from the Talmud,
based on what?
He's giving the history. You see?
Wait.
But, this Quran is full of wisdom, and God started it from. He gives you the history of
Jim,
where
you got to mute up, bro.
He gives you the history of where this concept comes from, simply by starting with the true history of Adam's two sons, right? And he gives you the history. He says, because of this, right? Because of this, we decreed for the children of Israel that anyone who murders any person who had not committed murder or horrendous crimes, it shall be as if he murdered all the people. Okay. Right. So if the Talmud decided that was part of their tradition, it didn't have to be mentioned in the book because this had carried from this time, the beginning.
Oh, so here's my question with this, okay? Because you already said that the Talmud is not scripture. So is there anywhere in scripture before the Quran where we see God ascribe this law to Israel outside of the Talmud?
What?
Is there anywhere outside of the Talmud?
I don't study the scripture.
Talmud, number one. So no Talmud in scripture. Is there anywhere in scripture where we can find where God makes this statement and establishes this concept to Israel outside of the Talmud?
The history of this concept in these verses right here in this scripture.
The Quran.
He's giving the origins of that concept in the Quran.
So why is it then that we find the actual origins of this? Because it doesn't start in the Quran. We find the origins where this first comes up ever.
Here's the problem.
Wait, let me finish. The first place that we ever find this is in the Talmud. Why is that?
I understand why you see it that way, but what where you're failing in perception is that God is the author of the Quran. Therefore, when the heavens and the earth were created, who was around but God? So he knows all the history. So if he gives a final revelation and says that this book confirms all previous scripture and is in a complete and fully detailed guide for mercy for the believers, then when you study it, you will see this. You will understand that the perspective that from which God speaks is most wise. So he can give this information in a later revelation if he chooses, like he did, right? You questioning its placement is quite arrogant because you are not God. You are not author of the scripture. So you questioning why, take that up with the Most High.
Okay. So would you agree that this is a revelation, that this concept that God establishes with Israel, that to kill one is as if you killed all of mankind, that's divine revelation from God?
He says he decreed it.
Okay, so it's divine revelation, correct?
He decreed it. This is an ordinance. This is an ordinance. It's in a divine ordinance. Yes. It's
okay. All right. Beautiful. So it's divine revelation. All right. So if it's divine revelation, then the Talmud contains divine revelation, correct?
The Talmud does not contain divine revelation. So look, this is the problem what we're running into, right?
And there's the issue.
Hold on, because
there's the issue.
What you're doing is you're trying to equate the Quran to Talmud when I just told you the Talmud came after God's revelation, right?
It came before the Quran.
Wait, listen. If you want to play the before after game, you would be losing right now, because Jesus and your idea of Jesus being God, all that came after the gospel of Jesus.
Came before the Quran, though.
It didn't come with Jesus, though. It didn't come with Jesus.
It did.
Jesus didn't say none of it. Matter of fact, if we
this
go
is
into your Bible,
what we call the Muslim shuffle.
Let me ask you a question.
Look at the shuffle.
No, this is not going to be a interrogate Quran situation. This is not going to be that. We didn't come here for that. We came to have a discussion.
This is a shuffle.
So let me ask you a question about
how did it's a discussion between both books.
Good.
Yes,
so how did Judas die? Because we haven't touched.
Wait. Why are you?
Hold on. Wait. Let's not jump, because I want to say something. I want to say something about this plagiarism thing too. So let me get in here.
Oh y'all want to beat on? Y'all want to play on that for the next?
But he's stuck here. He's stuck.
All right, we can move on. We can move on in a second.
Nobody.
Yeah, we'll move on in a second.
We can move on in a second. Let me just say something. Let me just say something about this.
I want to add something as well.
Wait. He has to.
Let me say this.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry.
He's trying to hold this on to some.
He's stuck here, and now he's trying to change the subject.
Who's stuck?
You.
Who's stuck? I'm not stuck. I see what you're trying to do. You're trying to pin the Quran to a Talmud, and this is not the case.
I'll ask the question
so now
again.
what we're gonna
wait. Pause, Rocco. Rocco, pause, brother. Pause. I'll ask the question again if you're not stuck. You said that this is a divine revelation that God has established and decreed that if you kill a man, it is as if you have killed all mankind. This is what you said is divine revelation. So since this is found in the Talmud and nowhere else, then I'm asking, does the Talmud contain divine revelation?
The answer is no, and due to that, it's also
just like the Bible. It's just
wait. That's what I'm getting at.
And therefore, the Quran doesn't contain divine revelation.
What I'm saying is this: the Bible is not divine revelation either, right? So when you ask if the Talmud, is revelation, you don't have the original Torah. You don't have the original gospel. So what you have are traditions just as much as the Talmud is as much. So when you try to equate the Quran to a tradition of a book that's a listing of traditions and customs, it doesn't work, bro. The Talmud never says it's authored by God. The Quran does. The Quran mentions that no falsehood can enter in the past or the future. None has not, right? So you can't equate the Bible to the Quran or any other book for that matter to the Quran. It doesn't work, bro. It just you can try, but it doesn't work. The Talmud was written by men. The Quran was not.
Let me say this last thing, and then I'll mute up live for you.
Can I get up in there after one of y'all?
Yeah. So, listen, I'll say my last point on this because I think it was made. All I'm doing is showing the inconsistency in y'all's logic and y'all's argument. If you're saying that because something quotes another thing, then therefore there's discrepancy, therefore there's lack of revelation, you can't trust it, then you have a problem with your Quran that is not even quoting scripture. It's quoting something that you admittedly say is not scripture. And then when you say that, well, it's actually a concept that predates everything because God ordained it and decreed it, so it's divine revelation. And so it's divine revelation in the Quran. Then by that definition and by that standard, then you have to admit that the Talmud contains divine revelation. It's God.